KPBS On Demand is supported by the San Diego County Toyota dealers, offering a new 2025 lineup of vehicles at your local Toyota dealer, including a new Tacoma with turbocharged 4-cylinder engines and a hybrid powertrain option. The San Diego County Toyota dealers. We make it easy.
Good morning, I'm Andrew Dyer, in for Debbie Cruz. It's Wednesday, June 18th. More immigration raids could be coming to San Diego communities. More on that next. But first, the headlines. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria has vetoed portions of the budget passed by the City Council last week. Gloria announced yesterday he would accept the City Council's budget for libraries and rec centers, which will still be cut, but not as much as the mayor had initially sought. Gloria used a line item veto to block roughly $5 million in spending by the council, including funds for community events and a handful of positions in city management.
It is true that the council has the authority to override my veto, but I urge them to accept this compromise, a budget that restores essential services without overcommitting the city's finances.
The City Council has until June 26th to override the mayor's vetoes. State lawmakers have proposed a bill that, if passed, would ban law enforcement officers from covering their faces while carrying out their duties. San Francisco State Senator Scott Wiener says masks make it difficult to tell if someone is a law enforcement officer or a member of a vigilante militia. State law already requires officers from departments in California to display identifying information. Videos of masked federal officers in unmarked vehicles executing immigration raids have circulated widely on social media. If passed, officers in violation could face a misdemeanor charge. However, federal officers are subject to federal regulations, not state. A heat advisory is in effect today for inland San Diego County. The National Weather Service says inland valleys and mountains can expect highs in the 90s, about 10 to 15 degrees above normal. Coastal areas should see highs in the 70s. But it won't last long. Forecasters say things will start to cool Thursday, and by this weekend, highs will be below average for this time of year. From KPBS, you're listening to San Diego News Now. Stay with me for more of the local news you need.
KPBS On Demand is supported by Latino Legacy Foundation, presenting their Storyteller series, Reach for the Stars with Ellen Ochoa, the first Latina astronaut. Welcome Serenade by the all-female mariachi Amapolas, Sunday, June 29th. More at latinolegacyfoundation.org.
San Diego is feeling the brunt of the Trump administration's historic increase in immigration enforcement. Reporter Gustavo Solis says the situation is becoming volatile.
From arresting immigrant workers near El Cajon to detaining people in San Diego's immigration court.
Sir, you don't need to touch my client.
Please show us the warrant.
And raiding a popular South Park restaurant. Local immigration lawyers say this is what mass deportations look like. Federal agents pressured to meet arrest quotas, targeting anyone they suspect of being in the country illegally. Ginger Jacobs has more than 20 years of experience as an immigration lawyer.
When Trump took office, he put into place a number of executive orders and the different memoranda, vastly expanding the scope of enforcement activities.
Over the last couple of months, we've heard stories of a grandmother, a soccer coach, and a disabled asylum seeker, all being caught in President Donald Trump's deportation machine. We've seen an increase in workplace raids, but other tactics are brand new, like arresting people at immigration court hearings or during scheduled check-ins with ICE. Another new enforcement tactic, revoking student visas. Stacy Tolchin represents more than 20 students.
These are people that are finishing graduate programs. This is a doctoral program. This is a lot of time invested and a lot of commitment invested. And that to lose this is pretty monumental for somebody who's devoted their lives to do it.
A coalition of nonprofits, humanitarian workers, and lawyers have spent most of this year responding to this new wave of ICE enforcement. Advocates are patrolling immigrant neighborhoods and warning people of potential ICE activity. Lawyers are rushing to federal courthouses and providing pro bono legal aid to people being arrested. Others are fundraising for families of the people detained. Ginger Jacobs says that they're making a difference.
We've got some organizations here in San Diego that do rapid response incredibly well.
And after last month's immigration raid of a South Park restaurant, San Diego's political and labor leaders are becoming more vocal. Here is San Diego Democratic Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs.
Over the past week, the immigration enforcement tactics we've seen in San Diego have crossed a new line.
Union leaders like SEIU's Christian Ramirez say that it's hypocritical of our society to profit from the work of unauthorized immigrants and then punish them for doing that work.
This economy has been built on the backs of hard-working immigrants, and now we unleash soldiers to attack them?
And while politicians, labor leaders, and activists all agree that this level of enforcement is problematic, they disagree on how to combat it. Democrats are quick to criticize White House officials and specific enforcement actions, but they still generally support ICE. Congressman Juan Vargas says ICE agents are mostly good people following bad orders.
I can assure you that almost every ICE agent there didn't want to be there doing that. They did not want to be in there disrupting, running into a restaurant like that with machine guns to arrest the cook. They're getting those orders from Washington.
On the other hand, immigrant rights advocates say the entire agency needs to be rebuilt. They point to a history of civil rights abuses and argue that the problem is systemic, not just a few bad apples or a particularly harsh administration. Pedro Rios is with the American Friends Service Committee.
We can't continue in this way because the infrastructure is a juggernaut. And unless we're calling for an end, a true end to ICE raids, then we have to be truthful about our vision for a just society.
Local labor leaders say that they want Democrats to do more than just press conferences. Local party leaders say that their power is limited. But they did send the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, a letter demanding an investigation into the San Diego raid. But just a few days later, the Trump administration sent National Guard troops and the Marines to Los Angeles, where people were protesting increased ICE enforcement. At a press conference in Los Angeles, Noem was crystal clear about their plans.
We are not going away. We are staying here to liberate this city.
And at that same press conference, Noem's security detail pushed California Senator Alex Padilla to the ground and handcuffed him after he tried to ask her questions.
Hands behind your back. If you let my hands go ahead, put them behind my back.
The situation remains volatile. On Sunday, Trump ordered ICE to increase enforcement in what he called Democrat-run cities, like San Diego. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
As photos of protest signs from Saturday's march spread across social media, arts reporter Julia Dixon Evans explores how art connects today's movements to a long history of resistance.
This is what democracy looks like. Art as protest takes many forms, from handwritten signs to public art, underground zines to parody, all created to make sense of the world and share a message. Arzu Ozkal is professor of graphic design at San Diego State University. She says protest signs are public visual manifestations of real-time dissent.
So those are all like journal pages of the United States right now. They're so personal, they're quick, they're witty, also serious.
The issues may have changed, but the urgency to respond through art is nothing new. The origins of art as a profession and as subversion are deeply connected to power structures like monarchies and the church and their propaganda. In history and today, people create art to serve and challenge power.
So whenever we're not allowed to say what we want to say, humanity finds ways, subversive ways to communicate, because we have the urge to communicate.
Julia Dixon Evans, KPBS News.
You can find photos of protest art on our website at kpbs.org. San Diego is scaling back incentives for homeowners to build ADUs. Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the City Council approved a package of reforms this week.
Under the city's ADU bonus program, property owners can build a dozen or more units in the backyard of a single-family home if it meets certain conditions. If it's on a large lot, the home is near public transit, and a portion of the homes are set aside as affordable housing. The package of reforms would limit most properties to 4 ADUs. It would also impose new fees and parking requirements. Council President Joe LaCava voted for the restrictions.
As others have said, ADUs is part of our housing solution. It is not the only part of our solutions, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be right-sized.
A letter from state housing officials last week threatened to block the reforms, which also have to be signed by Mayor Todd Gloria. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
In neighboring Imperial County, the Board of Supervisors appointed a new CEO last week. Reporter Corey Suzuki says not everyone agreed on the choice.
In April, the Board of Supervisors dismissed the county's former top administrator, Miguel Figueroa. They said he'd been under investigation, but wouldn't say why. Now, the board has appointed a new CEO, Kathleen Lang. Lang is an administrator at a national private healthcare company that provides Medi-Cal services in the Valley. The decision wasn't unanimous. 2 supervisors voted against Lang's appointment, largely because Lang will receive a significantly higher salary than Figueroa. Supervisor Martha Cardenas-Singh says she sees a trend in the board's decisions to approve large raises.
It is not about Dr. Lang. It's about how we decided a 33% increase to a CEO.
The decision also comes ahead of the county's public budget hearings, which are set to take place in August. Supervisor Peggy Price supported Lang's appointment, but warned that the county will face challenging decisions in the coming months.
I welcome you. I also am going to lean on you very hard because there's a lot of work to be done here.
Lang will officially start at the end of June. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
That's it for the podcast today. As always, you can find more San Diego news online at kpbs.org. I'm Andrew Dyer. Thanks for listening and have a great Wednesday.
KPBS On Demand is supported by Paint Care, offering households and businesses in California more than 800 leftover paint drop-off sites for recycling. Quantities of 100-plus gallons of paint may qualify for a large volume pickup. Learn more at paintcare.org.